The twin suns of Kepler 442b cast long shadows across the rust-colored plains as Jake Morrison guided his hover stallion through the canyon. 3 years of terraforming had turned this rock into something resembling the Montana of his childhood, sparse, beautiful, and unforgiving. He adjusted his wide-brimmed hat against the crimson glare and checked his scanner. The cattle were scattered again, probably spooked by another Velkari scout ship passing overhead. The Velkari had been nothing but trouble since humanity had claimed this sector. Arrogant reptilian bastards who looked down on every species that hadn't mastered quantum folding before developing agriculture. They'd made it clear. Humans were primitives. Lucky colonists squatting on worlds they didn't deserve. Jake was contemplating this when he heard it, a sound so faint he almost dismissed it as wind through the rocks. Mama. He reined in his mount, the anti-grav servos humming to silence. There it was again, barely a whisper, but unmistakably a voice. A child's voice. His hand instinctively went to the plasma revolver at his hip as he dismounted. The terrain here was treacherous, full of crevasses and caves. No human settlement for 50 clicks in any direction. What would a kid be doing out here? Mama, please. Jake followed the sound to a narrow ravine, his boots crunching on loose gravel. At the bottom, partially hidden by a collapsed overhang, he saw it. At first, his mind refused to process what his eyes were showing him. It looked like a lizard, but wrong. Too symmetrical, too purposeful in design. Scales that shimmered with an iridescent purple-blue like oil on water. Wings, actual wings, crumpled and torn, leaking a luminescent fluid that pooled beneath its small body. It was no bigger than a house cat, and it was dying. But what froze Jake's blood wasn't the creature itself. It was the garbage scattered around it. Velkari waste containers, their distinctive angular script stamped on the sides. Medical packaging. Biohazard symbols, they dumped it here, left it to die like trash. The creature's eyes, intelligent, golden eyes, fixed on him. Terror and hope warred in that alien gaze. Mama, the word formed not in his ears but in his mind, a psychic whisper accompanied by images. Warmth, safety, love. Universal concepts that transcended species. Jesus Christ, Jake muttered, dropping to his knees beside the creature. His scanner confirmed what he'd already guessed. This was a Draconis stellaris, a species so rare that humanity had only encountered them twice. Dragons, the xenobiologists called them, though they were more like bioengineered marvels than Earth mythology. They were also worth more on the black market than a small moon. The Velkari had probably planned to sell it. When it got sick, they'd just thrown it away. The dragon whimpered, and Jake made his decision. He'd seen enough abandoned calves, enough dying animals in his time. This wasn't so different. Life was life. All right, little one, he said softly, shrugging off his jacket. Let's get you home. He wrapped the creature carefully, feeling its racing heartbeat through the fabric. It was burning up with fever. As he climbed back up the ravine, the dragon pressed against his chest, making a sound like a cross between a purr and a chirp. Safe, safe. Mama. Not your mama. Kid, Jake said, but his grip tightened protectively. But I guess I'll do for now. The next 72 hours were a blur. Jake's homestead wasn't much. A prefab dome and a barn for the cattle. But it had medical supplies. He'd treated everything from radiation burns to scale rot in his herd. How different could a dragon be? Very different, it turned out. The creature's biology was a nightmare of contradictions. It breathed methane but also oxygen. Its blood carried metals that would kill most species, and its temperature fluctuated wildly. Jake improvised, mixing his veterinary training with desperate intuition. On the second night, the dragon opened its eyes. Mama? Still not your mama, Jake said, offering a nutrient solution he'd synthesized. The dragon lapped it weakly, then stronger. Its scales began to shine again, the torn wings starting to knit at the edges. Why, help? The question carried layers of meaning. Confusion, gratitude, and something deeper. An inability to comprehend kindness without purpose. Jake leaned back in his chair, studying the small creature. Where I come from, you don't leave things to die. Not if you can help it. Especially not kids. Not valuable. Sick, worthless. The words came with images. Velkari handlers, cold and clinical, running tests, extracting samples. Then disgust, contamination, the quick decision to dispose of defective merchandise. They're wrong, Jake said firmly. You hear me? You ain't worthless. You're just a kid who got dealt a bad hand. Over the following weeks, the dragon grew stronger. It followed Jake everywhere, perched on his shoulder during cattle rounds, chirping excitedly at the sight of the twin suns rising. It learned to hunt the small crystalline creatures that burrowed in the rocks. Its wings gaining strength with each day, Jake named her Nova. And if anyone had told him 6 months ago that he'd be raising an alien dragon, he'd have laughed them off his property. Then the Valkyrie came back. Their ship descended without warning, a sleek gunmetal wedge that scattered the cattle and kicked up clouds of red dust. 3 of them emerged, their reptilian features arranged in what might have been smiles or threats. Jake had never learned to tell the difference. Human, their leader hissed through a translator. You have property belonging to our consortium. Surrender it and we will compensate you for your trouble. Nova had hidden at the first sound of the ship, but Jake felt her presence in his mind, terrified and desperate. Jake's hand rested casually on his plasma revolver. Don't know what you're talking about. The Draconis specimen. We have traced its biosignature to this location. It is defective merchandise, but still valuable for parts. Something cold and hard settled in Jake's chest. He'd faced down claim jumpers, corporate raiders, and once a rogue mining mech. He'd never backed down from bullies, no matter how many legs they had. Here's the thing, Jake said, his drawl thickening. I don't see any merchandise. I see a kid. And where I come from, we don't take kindly to folks who hurt kids. The Valkyrie leader's crest flared. You are one human. We are within our rights to... The plasma bolt took the translator unit off his chest, leaving him stumbling backward. Jake's revolver smoked in his hand. You're gonna get back on that ship, Jake said quietly. And you're gonna leave, because the next shot goes somewhere more permanent, and because every human in this sector is gonna hear about how the mighty Valkyrie torture children and sell them for parts. We might be primitives, but we've got something you don't. We've got principles, and a real mean streak when it comes to protecting our own. For a long moment, the Valkyrie stood frozen. Then slowly they retreated to their ship. As it lifted off, Jake felt Nova emerge from hiding, wrapping her tail around his leg. Why? Why risk for me? Jake holstered his revolver and picked up the small dragon, feeling her warmth against his chest. Because you called for your mama, kid. And maybe I'm not her, but out here on the frontier, we make our own families. As the twin suns set over the plains, painting the sky in shades of amber and crimson, a human cowboy and a baby dragon stood together, watching the stars emerge one by one. Each one a reminder that the universe was vast. But family could be found in the most unexpected places, and humanity, as always, would protect its own.